Go look at some tips and tricks now for creating components within Inventor. In this example I'm going to look at this wheel arch, which is mainly made out of sheet metal components. When you're designing something you may not know the final size of the item you're doing, so we want to enable it to be flexible. What I've done, I've created a model of the inside of the shape of the wheel arch. We use the split tool to create the inside profile, and I've extruded it up. I've renamed one of the parameters for depth. This makes it easier for us to modify later on. The first step is to create a new part in sheet metal. So in the sheet metal settings I've already got it set as 3mm mild steel. I'm going to go into the model tab, and then going to derive my component into this assembly. So for convenience I've called it wheel arch master. I'm opening that. As you can see I've renamed the parameter it's bringing that in. I'm going to bring it in and derive it as a surface. I've gone OK. What I can do now is I can use this to start creating my sketches very conveniently. So I'm going to go 3D sketch, pick the surface. With my applications options currently configured, it projects the surface for me, all the edges. So I just go finish sketch, back to the 2D sheet metal tab, pick face, go OK, create another sketch, put it on there, finish sketch, pick face, go OK. It's created my surfaces and it's putting my bend radiuses for me. I can then just go back to the derived component and turn off the visibility. That's my first component created. I can go save, I go flat pattern to generate it, and I'll save that one. Go yes, and there we go. I'm now going to create a more complex top panel shape here. So to do that, I've already created a template, so I'm going to find my top panel. I've derived in already my master component, so I can turn the visibility back on. So all I need to do now is I'm going to do a sketch on this side here so I can project this curve. So there's my sketch. I'm now just going to turn these lines here into construction because I don't want to use them, and just finish my 2D sketch. I'm now going to use the contour flange and pick that profile. I'm just going to zoom in to check that I'm doing it to the correct side, i.e. I'm offsetting upwards, because remember I've modelled this master part as the inside. That's fine, so I'm just going to change the orientation so it's going away. Then from this drop down here I can go list parameters. I want to find the one I've renamed to depth. I'm going to go OK. See now it's created my sheet metal component for me to the correct depth. I just turn the visibility off of the derived component. I can create my flat pattern. That's easily done. Save my component. What I can do now is I can create a new assembly. So go in here, find my standard assembly, go create, I can start placing my components. So I find my front panel, I can place it in there. I should right click and place grounded at origin, but if I accidentally place it, but it's not grounded, I can use my productivity tools, find ground and root components, and ground the component in place. All I need to do now is bring the rest of my components which I've already created. Remember, right click, ground at origin plane, go OK. At the moment that looks a bit wrong because it's not up to date. I'll just update these, all my panels are correct. Previously I created them at a different size. To show how that works, if I go back to my master component, I go to my parameters, I find my depth parameter here, maybe change the depth to 800mm. Go done. That updates immediately. If we go back to my assembly, you see I've got the little lightning bolt saying that something needs to be updated. Pick that, and all the panels update immediately. That's a nice easy way of having your assembly update. I'm going to look at a very quick way of creating a DXF file. Lots of people have asked quick ways of doing it, and they think they have to place it into a drawing. An easy way of doing it, we go into our flat pattern, then just right click on the surface, export face as, and it exports as a DXF. To change the type, go to the options button, press options, then you've got a drop down, and you can save it all the way back to release 12. Just go finish, and you'll save it to your local workspace. We can use the sheet metal punch tool to create nice features on the surface. However, it doesn't always give you the naming that you want. As an example, we're just going to put a punch on here quickly. Normally I would constrain these points in place, but for this example it doesn't matter too much. Find our punch, we're going to find one called perforate. Insert the punch. At the moment you see this gives it eye feature 14, which is okay, but it doesn't really give us much of a clue about what the punch is. So there's another way we can do it and create our punch nice and quickly. What I'm going to do now is create a quick sketch on the surface and create a punch tool to show how to create it so it gives the name in the browser. I'm going to do a quick rectangle. I'm going to put a point in the center for it to pick in and place with. And I'm just going to put a fillet on the corners. Now go to the Manage tab, and I'm going to extract the eye feature. I need to pick the cut and select Sheet Metal Eye feature. Then give it a punch ID, so I can call it 1, 2, 3, 4. However, that won't necessarily come in the browser view. So in the browser, to make it different, I'm going to right click the eye feature here, go rename, I'm going to call it Wheel Arch. I'm going to go save, and I can save it to my catalogue. I can either save it in the punches folder. I'm going to go place the existing one I've already got in there, so I'm going to go yes. And that's my punch created. I'm going to go to this panel here, I'm going to edit this one, do a quick sketch, point on the surface, I'm going to use my punch tool, find my wheel arch, go open, and then finish my feature. Notice down the browser tree here, it now says wheel arch rather than eye feature. I can now finish edit, and that's my assembly sheet metal work done. A couple of little tricks we're going to look at in the assembly environment just to remind people is that when you're trying to assemble something, it's not always easy to see what you're trying to assemble to. You can go back into your browser tree and turn off the visibility of individual components. That can take time, and also you can set up your design views. However, people tend to forget about the free move and free rotate. Remember, with free move, just pick it, grab a component, even if it's fully constrained, I can then move it out of the way. Grab another component, move it out of the way as well. And keep moving the paths until I find that I get access to where I want to. I can obviously rotate round, I can zoom in, I can apply my constraints. Once I'm happy that I've applied the constraints to all the components I want to see, I then hit update on the top of the screen here, and everything will pop straight back in place again. I don't have to then worry about going down into the browser tree, turning on the visibility of components, or setting up any additional views. Let's look at some 2D tips and tricks. On large assemblies like this, quite often when you're shipping you'll need to know the centre of gravity. So with a reminder how to get it up nice and easily, you could calculate it from the model and then sketch it on. However, if you go to the browser tree down here, expand your view out till you find the model. You right click on the model, pick centre of gravity. You'll see down here a little cross appears representing the centre of gravity. And then to go straight to your annotate tab, and from somewhere sensible, and start dimensioning up your centre of gravity. Now I'm going to create another view very quickly. With this view we're going to demonstrate the breakout view. It's a nice little tool for showing information that you cannot see without setting the design view. What we're going to do first is select the view. And we need to do a sketch, so we're going to create a sketch. Now I'm going to create a little profile that we can use to break out the information we want to see. So I'm going to use a line, create the profile. It needs to be a closed loop. Find as our profile there, go OK, and finish my sketch. Now see I've got a sketch that's associated with that view. To check, you can just grab the view, move it, and that sketch should move with it, and that's fine. I'll now use my breakout tool, select the view. You can see now it highlights the pyramid that we've created already. We've got a depth option here. I'm going to change that from the drop down, go through part. Then have a hover over the assembly. It's asking me which part I want, so I'm going to pick this panel here and go OK. But then work out, then cut through that panel. I'll be able to see the components behind it, and I can start maybe adding notes or dimensioning to that. It's a nice little tool to see extra information.